For more stories like these, go to www.social-tv.co.za, subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on our social mediums.
It's obvious that the COVID-19 pandemic has affected many industries in South Africa, on the continent, and globally. But in the midst of this darkness, there is somebody who's advocating for the show must go on. That's Margie Biggs, organizer of the Wine, Food and Tourism Awards. We chat to her in today's social newscast. Thank you, Margie. So maybe let's just start by talking about wine and food tourism at the moment, with the borders closed. Just from your insight, I know you're speaking to other leaders in the space. What's the situation like on the ground at the moment?
Well, it's very difficult, obviously, for most people, However, I can tell you that this morning I was at a wine estate that has a hotel on it and a restaurant. And I was looking at the protocols that they've put in place, and it's quite remarkable to see how they've been able to work around what is required. I mean, obviously, they can only have business people to stay, but it's fantastic what they've been able to do in terms of preparing a room so that someone can come to stay. I mean, the foggers that they've put in place, how they've reorganized their laundry so that how the laundry's handled, how they put a clip on the door so that when the guest gets there, it gets clipped open so that the guest knows that no one's been in there before. I mean, it's amazing what they've done to be able to welcome guests. Then when I looked at their restaurant, I mean, the way the tables have been reorganized. I mean, I know this restaurant well. So, I've seen how they've reorganized that. Everybody is so clearly aware of making sure that the guest is not fearful and that they're comfortable, and that, that they can accommodate them. I mean, the other good thing, of course, is that many places have brought their prices down. So these really fabulous places are more affordable to South Africans, which has also been great, So, I mean, I can see how it's very challenging, but at the same time, it's possible to make it so that people can visit.
Margie, and I'm sure as somebody who has a macro view of the entire wine and food tourism industry, because you are in contact through the awards as the organizer with so many companies, individually run establishments, that you have a very immediate sense of what is actually happening. What is your reaction to the food industry finally saying enough is enough, that you need to start considering, just in terms of the decisions that government is making, the effect it's having on us, not only as business owners, but as employers?
People are desperate. It's absolutely desperate out there. Daily restaurants are closing. And what do you do when you have to look your staff in the eye and say, sorry guys, but we can't continue? It's just too awful. People are having to lay off people that they've worked with for years and years. It's desperate. It's absolutely desperate. And it's almost as though we don't know whether government is actually listening, because it doesn't appear that they are. And I mean, it's incredibly sad, but it's also just desperate from the point of view of how these businesses are not going to come back, because once you've closed them, they can't be reconstituted just when you open up again. It's years and years of work that's gone. And I mean, I just think people are completely desperate. They don't know what to do. And I mean, what else do you do other than protest when you think that you're not being heard? I don't know. I actually don't know.
Margie, how do you internalize? And I don't know if it's a fair question, but I've got to ask it. Do you internalize as an organizer of internationally recognized awards the devastation that's happening in the industry? And then what kind of pressure is on the team to then reflect an awards that understands that we are in a black swan moment?
Well, you see, I had to look at it this way. And when I took a a lot of time to decide whether we would continue with the awards this year. And when I was thinking about it, I thought to myself, we need to have some hope. We need to have some hope, something that says this is going to pass. I mean, we're not going to be in this situation forever. And when the tourists do come back, because they will, we need to be ready. Now, one thing I do know is that the South African wine tourism business is the most sophisticated there is. I mean, I've traveled for many years all over looking at wine tourism. It's a passion of mine, and I know that we are the best. And I say that without blushing. But we can't rest on our laurels. We have to keep innovating, and we need to be ready for when those tourists come back, which is why I thought, let me continue with the awards, because we've got to make sure that we stay on our game. And so while we cannot offer all the awards this year, the one we can't offer is the Service Excellence Award, because clearly our judges can't visit because it isn't being offered. I mean, service is not being offered on wine estates and in restaurants in terms of wine. So we are only offering the Innovation Award, which is clearly can still be offered, and the Authentic South African Experience, which, I mean, that's one area where we really have been trying to improve the offering. And then also we've got a new award, which is very exciting. The WWF has come on board with us and are offering an award this year. So, I think that it's important that we look to the future and say, this is going to end at some point, and then we're going to be ready for when the tourists come. And so that's why I decided that we needed to continue, because we've got to be hopeful for the future.
And that for me is the point, that this awards is always recognized excellence and innovation. But with COVID and the pandemic around it, you almost have to see this awards in a completely different light for what it can do for the industry, how it can position those people that are in really desperate situations, and maybe even then say to South Africans that the time has really come to stop spending your money overseas and start visiting locally.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, exactly. And to shine a light on what is really good here, and to believe in a hopeful future, and to say, when we open up, we're first going to open up for locals, for domestic travel. And so South Africans who can afford to travel will be traveling locally. And we've got to be ready to show them what we have. And we do have fantastic experiences. I mean, whether we're talking about food and wine, or whether we're talking about safari experiences, or we're talking about special interest travel, whether it comes to, botanical travel or whatever kind of experiences people are interested in, we have amazing experiences in this country. And so we need to show those to our locals, because they will also become the best marketeers to the international visitors, because I think there are very many of them that don't know that our country. They travel overseas all the time, but they don't really know South Africa as well as they could. And they, once they do, will be telling their international friends, I went down to the battlefields, or I went to this great restaurant up the West Coast. You've just got to go and see what they're doing there, And, they'll be talking about their experiences to friends abroad. And I think that will be very important for the future.
Margie, I know the entries are open now, and obviously you've got the headache of trying to figure out what this awards would look like. In the past, it was an attended event. Do you expect lifting of a regulation that allows you to have an event, or are you also moving the awards online?
No, definitely online. We're not even going to, at this point, plan to have an event. I think we have to be realistic, because we'll be announcing the honorees on the 22nd of September. And it will be an online broadcast. And, if we're able to travel to the honorees, we'd like to go and present the award, the physical trophy to them if we're able to. Otherwise, it will be, we'll have to wait to do that. But the announcement will be made on the 22nd of September, and it will be an online broadcast.
Final question from me. Just in terms of where we are, where we find ourselves, the psyche of the nation, the practical, hard-lived and day-to-day experiences of some of your entrants, are you having the kind of conversation where people are saying, well, look, we are definitely interested, or are you going to see a massive drop in numbers?
Oh, we will see a drop in numbers. That's absolutely clear. However, we are having a campaign where we're calling people who we believe should be entering, and we're explaining to them why they should be entering. And, you know, we are saying to them that we really need to carry on. You know, it's because, you know, people are quite down, and we need to. So we're actually saying to them, you need to believe in the future. We need to continue. This will pass. Enter. It will be good for your business. And, you know, we really need to just be kind to ourselves and to our businesses and to the industry, and we need to carry on.
Yeah, I hear you. Margie, thank you very much for your time.
It's been good chatting to you. Thank you for your call.
That's Margie Biggs, who's the organizer of the annual Wine and Food Tourism Awards, talking to us about this year's competition, how COVID-19 has changed the nature of the wine and tourism industry, and how the show must go on.